Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Laughter for All podcast. I am comedian Nazareth, and thank you for joining us. I have a friend of mine, a good friend. We've had him in the past, comedian Carlos Oscar, and he just lost his house completely demolished and because of the Altadena fire. And we just talked to him, and you know what? He's talking to us from his phone. So he's what do you call it? So we'll work with whatever we can with the internet because he's talking to us from his car. So all right. So I'm just gonna I'm just gonna start the show and bring him up as fast as I can so we can do this.
Welcome to Laughter for All. It's the podcast with comedian Nazareth.
Well, hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Laughter for All podcast. I'm comedian Nazareth, and my friend Carlos Oscar, he was on episode 156, and very funny guy, working comedian, does cruise ship, does all over, does TV shows, all that, and just a wonderful, funny guy, married, have two daughters, and then boom, the Altadena fire happens, and he loses his entire house. His entire house caught on fire, it's gone. And I know this is not the good time to bring him on, but he was so gracious to be able to go in his car right now and talk to us. And I just want to, maybe it will help people to know what is it like, and maybe give us the right perspective about our valuables and our life and what's important to us, but also how to rebuild, how to restart your life again. So please welcome my good friend Carlos Oscar. Carlos, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy, man.
No, thank you. I mean, anything that draws attention to this calamity, I think that when we're born, we always, in the back of our notion, we know we're going to lose loved ones because we see grandfathers pass, pets even pass. It's in the back of our heads that we're going to lose things, but it's not really cognizant that you're going to lose your home. It's very shocking because it's something that doesn't come into your consciousness, like you never really think about that. Especially I did live in an area, for those of you who know, Altadena was not considered a fire zone. um, so
Right.
many of my neighbors left without one thing, and they just said, oh, we'll come back in a couple of days. So I think it hits me, all the things that we've lost, like memories and whatnot. uh, Pictures and whatnot. And every day, I was walking with my wife about 10 minutes ago, and she said, oh my goodness, I forgot this specific ring that my mother gave me when I was 12. And all of a sudden, it's 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 quite uh devastating. I mean, I'm a little stoic now because it's been a couple weeks, but I'm trying not to get emotional. But it was something. And my whole block is gone. It's not just my house. It's blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks.
Does that make it a little? It makes it a little easier, doesn't it?
And
When
because you have a little bit of folks we've even gotten together with some of the neighbors, and we're trying to galvanize to for the next steps. So yeah, I mean, for me, my family had left already. I made sure they were safe, and I stayed at the house, and I stayed till about 4:30 in the morning, trying to hold the line, as they say when we're in the military. And I just got to the point where I think I couldn't take the chance of what it would mean to my family if I got caught in a bad situation. And so I finally left about 4:30 in the morning, and then I returned about 2.5 hours later. But the entire block was engulfed like a flamethrower. So
wow. Now, how much time did they give you? Like you said, you left at 4:30, and how much time did the fire department give you
I
guys to
think I think we
evacuate?
had evacuations. Our evacuation zone started, later that evening, maybe maybe the 7 or 8 o'clock hour, maybe, but a lot of people didn't leave my neighborhood till like 10 or so. My family left it honestly about by 7 p.m. they were gone, and I
Mm,
stayed, and I didn't even want to take the chance to run inside and get any more goods because I was very cognizant that an ember could come. It only takes one ember, and if it catches your vehicle, then I mean, I thought of the most. I tried to risk assess, and then I saw that it was getting closer. And then I saw from a distance that I could see this palm tree. I could see the orange glow, but light travels, so you don't know if that orange glow is that close to you or further. And
mm,
so when I couldn't, so I had my eyes out on this tree that was like 300 yards away, a palm tree. I said, if I can't see that tree, if the fire would jump that tree, then I'm leaving. And but then it got to the point where I couldn't see the tree, so of course I had to leave. But I know your listeners are probably saying, like, why didn't you just leave? Because there's a part of you that thinks you could save this, but it goes deeper than that. I think people need to know my story. My story is I grew up in the Bronx and I grew up very poor. I never had anything. We lived in YMCA's at times. Um, so that house, when I bought it some 20 years ago, my daughters got to have a real house. And it meant a lot more than just a home. It meant that I was able to provide my kids with something that I never had, the stability, these great memories. And I grew up in a very violent household. So my
mm,
daughters had a father that, I mean, I'm Puerto Rican. I have a fiery temper, but I never drank or anything like that because, I grew up around that. And even as a
mm,
young child, I said, oh, maybe I have a predisposition. I know that sounds stupid for a young kid to say, but even as a child, I go, maybe I'll be like my father or my uncles if I ever drank, and I don't want to be like them.
mm,
And so I was always, trying to be the good steward of the things that God has given me. So I mean that's why it's it's so devastating. And yeah, some of the things that you lose, uh, you know, I have an avid collection of like Yankee caps. I'm a big Yankee fan. Doesn't matter what team you love. I love baseball, but I'm a Yankees fan since I'm from the Bronx. But I have this really cool collection of hats, and they're all gone. And my daughter was so sweet that she reached out to one of the major hat companies that does the hats for MLB, and they sent me about like 17 hats, which I was
wow.
crying when they sent them to me. I was at a hotel because we were living in a hotel. Um, so, and everybody's reached out, and I mean, these kind of things bring out you yourself, one of the first ones to call me at the youth. You called me the very next day. I think people need to understand that we're brothers in Christ, but we don't work as often as we'd like to because we're always
Right.
in different areas. So it was very touching. And I'm the kind of guy that it's very hard for me to ask for help because I remember growing up in New York and having to go to the bodega and paying with food stamps when it was physical, like a physical food stamp.
Mm,
And I would get so embarrassed as a child. So my whole life has been like I have this problem with ego that I don't think I'm all that. I just find it hard to ask for help. That's
mm,
why, in that GoFund that was started by my daughter's friends at her cohort at college. Um it's been really something. And so many, even my first shirt in the Air Force called me up, and that's when I was a teenager, and he's been retired. Great guy. I mean, I think he wouldn't mind saying his name. His name is Joe Nino. He was at East LA.
uh,
Uh, he retired. He must have done 30 years maybe, and he called me up right away. And if anything he could do to help. And it's funny, like one of the things that I did take from the house was my military yearbook. When you graduate boot camp, they give you this little blue book. It looks like a yearbook, and I took it with me because the military had taught me a lot of good things. I met
mm,
people from all walks of life. So I mean, I'm rambling on because I don't know where it begins or ends. I just know that that God has been good because a lot of people have helped us, and we found a rental now that we're going to be in until the steps go by to rebuild a new house.
Okay, let me ask you this: when you started, okay, your wife and daughter left, you started putting stuff in the car. What did you put in the car? What's the first thing you went that was valuable to you to put in the car?
Baby pictures from my daughters, their
Mm,
baby albums, wedding albums, engagement albums, just pictures in total. Some hard drives that I knew would have pictures in them, even though we probably haven't plugged them into a computer in such a long time. Um, and if I could have taken more, I would have. I probably took 8% of 100% because there was just
wow.
no room. I was in a very small vehicle, and my daughter and my wife did take some bigger items. It's like our big wedding picture. She took
Mm,
some things of my mother-in-law that we didn't take. She's passed, but we didn't take some things. We took some things, but we didn't take some. You just don't think. And I think because you think, well, let's take important documents and whatnot, but we'll be back in a couple of days. I think if everybody knew this was going to actually happen, I mean, you would have rented a U-Haul and thrown everything in there and said, we'll
yeah.
be back in a couple of days. But just no one did that. And when I can tell you that many people around me, so many heartbreaking stories that they didn't take one thing. I even know a family that was on vacation, so they lost everything, the vehicles, every single thing because they were on vacation.
Now let me ask you this: how is your wife handling it? I know you're a Bronx boy. You're tough. How's your
She's
wife?
tougher.
She's suffering.
She's tougher. She's tougher because her father passed away at 19, and she had to take over her family's business that was in Alvera Street, which they don't have, they sold it many 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 years ago. So at 19, my wife, sorry, had to kind of grow up real fast
Mm,
because they her parents had her later in life, so they were older, and that was always one of her things. If her dad was ever going to walk her at her wedding, but he had passed before we even met. So
mm,
she's been through that, and she's a very detail oriented person. She's very very and she's affiliated now with law enforcement. She works at Pasadena PD. So she
mm,
as a it's been a strong group of support there that we've had from all the officers that are there. And she knew a lot of the I mean, I knew a lot of the firemen from Pasadena from her working there. She'd work in some other realms where I got to meet them. I did shows for them and everything. So
that's
uh they're I can tell you this, those firemen, they I won't say their names, but they really are broken about how they just couldn't do more than what they did. And they busted their butts that night um, trying to hold it. And I'm like an idiot. I'm like, well, maybe if I would have stayed, maybe I would have stayed with my garden hose, because I would be literally watering my house and my neighbor's house because they were gone. And I mean, I did what I think I could do, and then, but you think maybe you could do more, but obviously, my friends that are professional firefighters, like, they said no.
I
It,
had a firefighter right after I talked to you when you said you lost. I had a firefighter on the podcast, and I asked him this. I said, "Some people think if you hold your roof," and he goes, "Before the fire even gets in, the gases will dry it in 2 seconds." He said, "It's a
yeah,
waste of your time." So,
yeah.
so yeah, you couldn't do anything. Now, how are you guys? Like, what is the next step? Okay, so how is the government or the city or the state are right now starting to help you guys?
They started in Altadena. They did a hub, which is like a satellite at PCC on Foothill, and they had all the utilities out there, all the branches of the city. The city assessors, the permit people to give as much information. There were some veterans that were there to help anyone that was a veteran. Red Cross, obviously. So they're all reaching out. It's a lot of paperwork. So my my oldest daughter and my son-in-law are navigating through that, and we also have a close uh, cousin-in-law of mine through my wife, and he's an attorney, so he's making sure that we're going through the most correct steps, and it just takes time. They, they say they're fast tracking it. I mean, we hope they are. Um, and I think that they are going to, because it's such a calamity, and I mean, so, and you kind of just, you have to, we were in hotels for a while until 2 days ago.
Now you're used to that, but not your family.
Yeah, I was gonna say that as a comedian, and as the audience at large. Comedians, we're used to different hotels, different planes, cabins. If we're doing cruise ships like I do, I do very exclusive with Princess,
Yeah.
and they've been absolutely fabulous. I can't say enough about them. Uh, and so when we go home, that's really our connection. So to not have that is like you're really out of sync, because we're already gone sometimes 26, 30 weeks out of the year, maybe more sometimes. And coming home is a real relief and a real sense of peace.
Right.
And losing that is really something. I mean, we're always kind of living out of a suitcase, and
You're
then
still on the road. You're still on the road.
uh
You can't come home yet.
no.
That's now. Let me ask you this. So, what is so you put something on social media, just like you went back to the fire scene on your home, right?
I did. I haven't taken enough that I've shown, because it's really hard to. I sifted through some things. I found a couple of things. It's I didn't want to, like, I guess I felt like I don't want to utilize that as like clickbait, but it is honesty, so I probably should. I don't know how to I don't know how to navigate, social media as well as other people, as far as using it as a tool, as something that's which I have to really stand.
No, I mean, what did
But
you find? I saw you holding a cross and a flower. That was hard, huh? Hey, to get a man from the Bronx to tear up, man, that's outside of this fire. I mean, that's that's the thing. But I know it's difficult, man.
yeah, I'm losing connection. But I think you asked, what did I find when I went back?
Yeah. What did you find when you went back to the house after in the rebels?
I found a New York coffee cup that we've had forever. It made it through. I found some uh, pottery. All our Mexican pottery survived because it's made out of clay, right? So that survived. Uh,
Mm,
found some stuff from my mother-in-law that she gave my wife. Little things like little figurines and stuff. There really wasn't much there. It's really, it was such a, must have been such a extreme, and I had hazmat and everything, so it was it was such a intense heat that things just are gone. I mean, there's nothing there. There's really nothing there but the brick, and anything that was made of clay. I couldn't really find, any like jewelry, uh, there wasn't really much left. If there's anything that was made out of metal that warped, maybe
Mm.
there was nothing much to go.
So now, what is I want to let the listeners know because this is going to go on audio as well. Is like Carlos is lost his home, but he's talking to us from his car right now. So if the connection is not clear and the sound, forgive us. But let me ask you this: so what are they going to do? What's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to clean up all the rubble, and they're going to rebuild the same house, or what? What are you guys? What's the plan for you guys?
Yeah, once it's debrided, and once that okay, and that's already, I guess they're really in the works of doing that. They're starting the stage one, two, and three. I've been very involved, like keeping up with what's going on. Then uh, there'll be a fast track, as they say, to getting once it's cleared, and once all the agencies cleared, and they're doing it much faster than normal. Then you have your builder, and you get your plans. And I think if you're building basically the same footprint, it's going to be much easier. I think that you can do some variations to it. Um, I guess there's always some people that want to do a completely different type of home. We liked ours, so we're probably going to keep of pretty much kind of what the footprint was somewhat. I mean, my daughters and wife will have some input. I'm kind of an easy guy,
Mm.
uh, so I don't think it'll be as extremely as in. I mean, there'll be modifications, but as you know, in Altadena, every home looks different. Some are Spanish, some are traditional, some are what they call those oh they're they're an old type of house. They're like a bungalow. So there's,
Mm.
many different styles. That's what made Altadena so unique. And Altadena is not a very corporate place. It's just houses, because you have a market. You have maybe like a Jack in the Box and like a Rite Aid or something, but there wasn't a lot of corporate businessy. There was a lot of mom and pops.
Right. And by the way, people who don't know this, they're not from California, Southern California. Altadena is not Palos Verdes. It's not Beverly Hills. It's not. I mean, it's a
No,
middle class community.
we're basically just it's Pasadena, and then if you go north of it, you know, literally you cross one street and all of a sudden you're in Altadena. So it is a very cross section
Mm.
of when it comes to economics and backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds and all. It's one of the first cities in Los Angeles that anybody could buy a house there. As in the 60s, it was very difficult for people that were, let's say, minorities to get a home. Altadena was like, anybody can buy a house here. So it was a very diverse, not that you consciously always think of that, but it's kind of cool that like everybody lived there. And there's roots going back generations to Altadena, of
Mm.
many people that were dissuaded from buying in other parts of Los Angeles at that time, 70 years ago, uh, and were able to buy a house in Altadena and raise a family. Then it became this like little. I mean, it's such a cool neighborhood. My daughters went to grade school there. That grade school's gone. It was called St. Mark's,
Mm.
and it's nestled with the pretty mountains, but they're very far. So that's why it was such a shock that it came down so far.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this: um, how is how is this going to impact your comedy career as a comedian, and then your material maybe later on?
Maybe later on, but as far as my sets have gone, they've gone great because I've done this so long. It's
Mm. Again, I apologize for the audio. Yeah,
also
the audio keeps cutting off, but that's fine.
we will at some point I'll do some jokes about it, but it's still a little too fresh.
It's too fresh. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Well, I don't want to take much time because I know the audio is cutting in and out because you're in a car and the Wi-Fi is not
I'm in
dependable
the
as
air, but I
much.
think
But
it's not great. But maybe we can do a refresh um, later on.
few weeks ago from now. Yeah. We'll do a refresh few weeks. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much, Carlos, for taking the time in a time where you're really so busy and there's so much to do. I mean, you lost your home and everything, and you have to be the dad, you have to be the husband, the comforter, and you still have to go on tour. When your next show?
I leave tonight to go do a cruise ship in the Caribbean, but I'll be back in about 4 or 5 days, and then I have some stuff in town. I have my stuff on my website. It says carlososcar.com. But if
Oh,
anybody can go to my Instagram, it's Carlos Oscar Comedy, and it does have a link in the bio to the GoFundMe. But there's other ways, Venmo and Zelle and whatnot, and I'll get that to Nas so that he can pass it on to you guys.
right, right. Okay. Now, all of a sudden, your voice is coming back clear. So, you have a minute? Okay. So, I just want to say this, and I know you have to go. Guys, this is a time where we help our brothers and sisters, and I want you, encourage you. You know what? When you lose everything, I mean, just figure how much it costs to get a candle, how much it costs to get a shirt, to get that. So people say, "Oh, well, the government's going to take care of that." They're going to take care of the buildings. They're going to take care of certain stuff, but there's still the stuff that you know what this is their livelihood. So I want to encourage you as believers, as friends, as a human, to be able to help. And uh, uh, if you go I'm going to put it here in the web, on the what do you call it, on the podcast. But if you go to Instagram under Carlos Oscar Comedy, and there's a link to the GoFundMe where you can support that. You can
Yeah, it's in the
also
bio.
Venmo.
hmm
What?
It's in the bio. Yeah,
And it's
Venmo,
under the
Carlos Oscar.
bio. Yeah. And then, but if you want to do Venmo, you can go to Carlos Oscar, is it?
It's Carlos Oscar Comedy, and it has a, like a caricature of me. It looks like a cartoon with me in a Yankee cap, and it says
Yeah.
"Catch me outside." Yeah,
Yeah, if you go to Venmo at Carlos Oscar Comedy and you see someone with a New York cab, that's him. If it's not him, they deserve it. Anybody with a New York Yankee
yeah.
cab deserve it. So anyway,
You'll
you can give money
see.
that way. And also, if you want to do an what do you call it? If you want to do what do you call it? A tax deductible, you can always write a check to Laughter for All, and we will send every penny. We'll send a copy of your check that you send to us to Carlos with a check from Laughter for All. So every penny will go towards that to help the Altadena fire victims. So that's how. If you need any more information how to reach out to Carlos, to go to his website, Carlos Oscar Comedy. You can email him there. You can reach out to him, his management. They will find a way to get to him. If you're a pastor and you need to help, you can book Carlos Oscar to come and do comedy to headline. He's a funny, clean guy. Okay, we lost him right now because of the connection, but I just want to encourage you to help our brother out, comedians. Um, so. That's it. I know this is a short podcast, but I just wanted to bring Carlos on and see what is it like to lose your home and all that, and be able to give people that opportunity to be able to support and to help my brother. Also, so if you okay, back to me, of course. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, if you really want to know where I'm going to be this Thursday, this Friday, I'm going to be in Poway, California. Go to my website, nazarethusa.com, nazarethusa.com, and find out where I'm going to be. I'm going to be in Poway on Friday night near San Diego. I'm doing an event, a Valentine event. Then I fly that night to uh, Ronald Reagan, DCA. My flight will go over the Potomac River, and while I'm over there, I'm gonna pray for the people who lost their loved ones there as well. And I'm gonna be at Move Church on Saturday night. That's for their staff and their volunteers, so it's not open. But Sunday morning, the 9th of February, I'm doing 4 morning services at the Move Church. It's called Move Church in Woodbridge, Virginia. And I'm going to be doing 4 services, I think 8, 9:30, 11, and 12:30. Pray for me, please, please, please. 4 services, that's a lot. You forget on the first message, you go, did I tell you that or did I not? So keep me in prayer. And then I come home the next Wednesday, the next Thursday, I'm gonna be in it's called Homeland, California. I didn't know that city exists. I thought only Homeland Security, so I'm scared. So pray for me. I'm going to Homeland, California, a church there in Homeland, the lighthouse. Homeland, California is by Hemet and Riverside County. Also on Friday, I'm going to be at Victorville. That's a show that's open for everyone. Victorville Assembly in Victorville, California. You can get tickets. Go to my website and you can get tickets. There'll be 400 or 500 people at that event. And that early morning on Saturday morning, I am flying to. It's called. Here we go. It's Alamosa. I'm gonna be in Alamosa, Colorado on Saturday night. Alamosa, Colorado. It's 3.5 hours north of Albuquerque Airport, where I'll be driving in the snow. So keep me in prayer for that. And that's it. And if you need any more information, go to my website. But please, 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 if you need to help. My brother Carlos Oscar, the comedian. Either you can book him or you can have him, support on Venmo or on his Instagram at Carlos Oscar Comedy. And thank you so much for watching. And you have a great night. God bless you guys.